everyone, and welcome. For those of you who are new here, my name is Melissa, and I'm thrilled that you chose to join me today in your spare time. So for those of you who are following on Instagram, we are starting a book club here with My Intentional Life. And the book that we are going to be reading, or that we are reading, is Present Over Perfect. And I absolutely love this book. I have actually read it before, which is why you will see that I have all kinds of markings in it and notes to myself that I am still trying to get right. But just this year, I just had this feeling that I needed to read it again because I am trying to form new habits and, a new system. We've moved, we're in a new place, all of that. And I just felt like it was really important to get back into this, kind of realign myself and just figure out what's important and what's going to matter, and ultimately what is going to make me the best person that I can be for the people that are around me and have to deal with me. So I put it up on Instagram, as you all have seen, those of you that follow on Instagram. If not, the handle is down below if you choose to do so. And I just put together a schedule of what we would be doing from week to week to get through this book. And then on certain evenings, the day before we start a new it goes in parts, so part 1, 2, 3, 4, and on. The night before we start a new part, we would do a online Insta Live and just kind of talk back and forth about, what you guys thought about what we just read. And I just feel like it's a way to build this community, but also build this community. So often it is easy for moms to look down on each other. I don't know why that is. Why do women look down on other women? But instead, I just felt like I needed to do this so that we as women and men who watch, because I do have some men that watch, we can build ourselves up and help each other and coach each other and, pull each other along and just get through this journey of life holding the hand of a fellow human being. And so I just am so happy to do this. I'm so thrilled that you guys are coming along on this journey with me and that you're reading it. And I can't wait to hear, the feedback and kind of what you guys looked at this first part as, meaning to you. And just overall, just hearing the feedback and bonding and fellowshipping together. And like I said, just kind of holding each other's hands as we try to become better people for those around us. So enough of my talking. I wanted to get into the parts that we read this week. And we are doing part 1, which is a few different little chapters. And I love them. I have so many notes in this book. It's insane. I feel like every time I read this is the second time, I find things that I didn't find before, that I needed to see today, that I needed to hear today. And so I just hope that for you guys who are doing your own journey and who have your own struggles and whatever's going on in your lives, I hope that this past week you have seen things on paper that you needed to see and that you needed to hear. So the first chapter in this part is called Sea Change. And I'm just going to kind of go through, because we're going to be doing the live talk, that will help as well. I'll definitely, talk about what we've read in that as well. But I just kind of wanted to go through my highlights and the things that just really stuck out to me, the things that just basically came off of the paper and kind of gave me a whooping. I mean, bottom line, sometimes we need to hear the things that we need to hear. And so for me, a whole lot of blue on these pages, and so clearly I saw some things that I needed to see. So I like what she said in the first chapter. The word sea change is from Shakespeare, from The Tempest. A man is thrown into the sea, and under the water he is transformed from what he was into something entirely new, something rich and strange. And then she basically connected that to the word baptism. So for my denomination, we baptize through water, and you are fully immersed and brought back up. And it's just a way of you taking down into the water all of the heavy burdens and just gunk that you want to wash off, and bringing you back up clean and just open to God's voice, God's calling on your life, and your desire to just want to follow him and be the best person that you can be. And so I just loved the way that she combined the two of those, the sea change and baptism. And I think for me, needing to read this book right now was because I have just kind of felt like I was drowning the last few months. Just, you know, transition and change and new schedules, new structure, all of that. And you just kind of get to the point where you feel like you're literally drinking from a fire hose. And I just needed to be brought back to present. And what do I want this new chapter to look like? And realizing that I did not want it to look like what I was on the path for it to look like. So the next thing that I loved was, I'm coming to believe that there are a handful of passages in our lives that transform us, not unlike conversations where the old is gone and the new is come. And so for me, that's very much what this is about, trying to find just what my new looks like, and how I'm going to create that, how I'm going to take responsibility for that, and how I'm going to take responsibility for what that looks like for my kids. Because ultimately, how mommy runs the ship kind of determines on how their ship is run also. And what am I doing? How am I living? What am I showing? And so for me, I think we can all stop and think about times in our life where we had that aha moment, like, oh my goodness, this has to stop. This has gone on way too long. I have allowed this to take place for too long, and I need to just grab the bull by the horns and deal with this. I also liked what she said about, I left behind chaos and disconnection for the renewed connection to God. And it's so true. We get so focused in just the busy and the crazy and the hustle and the bustle of trying to drink from a water hose. And when that happens, we just totally start to lose focus on what is important, who is important, why we were here. And for me, a lot of times, the first thing to go is my connection to God. And I think a lot of it is just simple, out of sight, out of mind. And, you know, it's just like a friend. When you move and, you know, you have this daily connection with this person normally, and now you've moved and they are kind of out of the picture, so to speak, you have to really stop and focus and take the time to continue that connection with them, continue to call, continue to text. And if you don't do that, and if they don't do that, a lot of times that friendship will die. I have had it happen before. I have had it happen within the last 5 years. You know, it's just, if there's not a focus and if there's not a true desire to keep that relationship going, it's so easy to just, oh, well, you know, whatever. I don't need to do that. I don't need to take the time to do that. I have all these other things to do. And before you know it, the relationship is gone. And so I love that she says, leaving behind chaos for a renewed connection to God. And for me, that's important. I know not everyone believes that, and everybody's got their own journey, and that's totally fine. But for me, if I don't have Jesus and coffee, I I struggle. I really struggle. I can tell a difference in myself and in my surroundings because myself is oozing out into my surroundings. Then she goes on to say that years ago, a wise friend told me that no one ever changes until the pain level gets high enough. That seems entirely true. The enticing incident for life change is almost always heartbreak. Something becomes broken beyond repair, too heavy to carry. In the words of the recovery moment, unmanageable. And I think for me, looking back, the times that I have been literally brought to my knees, face first at the feet of the cross, is when I have had heartache and just total upheaval and needed a moment to be brought back to center and to realize I've lost control, I need help, and I need to get this under control. And so I think sometimes, you know, God is a loving God, and He sometimes, I think, allows us to trip so that we can find ourselves at the foot of the cross and realize that we do need Him regardless what we may think or what we may be told. And so I think sometimes He allows us to trip but holds our hand so that we don't break our nose. The other thing that I really like about what she said was, and in this current sea change, my discontentedness from my soul and from the people that I care most about has become so painful that I'm willing to remake the whole of my life. So I think that just goes back to say, you know, there comes a point, a breaking point, when you realize, I gotta have a change. I have to stop. I have to focus and find center and get back to just a sense of peace and a sense of calm for myself and for those around me. So then I flip over a couple pages here, and I just have so many notes. I have to kind of sort through here, otherwise this is going to be like a 2-hour video. Let's see. I have left behind some ways of living that I once believed were necessary and right, that I now know were toxic and damaging. Among them, pushing, proving, overworking, ignoring my body and my spirit, trusting my ability to hustle more than God's ability to heal. I mean, I cannot say amen loud enough. I am a pusher, a prover, an overworker. I ignore my body all the time. I've said it in my videos before, and I struggle with trusting my ability to hustle over God's ability to heal. I am a fixer. I am a problem solver, and it's hard for me to stop and say, I need help. I struggle with that. I've always struggled with that. And to just stop and admit that, look, I can't do it on my own, plain and simple. I cannot do it on my own. I have to lay some of this down, and I need help, whatever that help looks like for you. For me, it's usually admitting that I just plain cannot do it all. I can't do all of this for myself, and I can't do all of this for others. And so just being able to say no is so hard for me. And then she continues to say, and in the same way, I've always given my best energy to things outside myself, believing that I'd be fine and that I was a workhorse and that I didn't need special treatment or babying or, heaven help me, self-care. Self-care was for the fragile, the special, the dainty. I was a linebacker, a utility player, a worker bee. I ate on the run, slept in my clothes, worshipped at the altar of my to-do list. Ignored the crying out of my body and soul like they were nothing more than the buzz of a pesky mosquito. Oh, that's what I mean. I needed that whooping because this is so me. Like I said, I'm a workhorse. I don't need special treatment. I don't take time for self-care because self-care is for the fragile and the special and the dainty. I said it in my other video the other day that I did. I think self-care has taken on such a different meaning in this new generation and whatever, and just taking care of your body is self-care. Exercising, eating well, taking time to sleep and rest and refresh, that is self-care. Self-care doesn't have to be this big elaborate spa day and, you know, masks and facials and all of that kind of business. That is self-care, yes, but plain, wholesome, just simple self-care is just taking care of yourself, taking care of the body that you were given so that you can take care of those around you. It's just like in a plane. The oxygen masks fall. Mom is supposed to put them on before she cares for the children around her. This is the same exact thing. And so seeing that on paper was just very needed for me today. And then she continues to say, now I know that in the same way I've always believed God's Spirit dwells deeply in this world, it also dwells deeply in me. And I want that. I want for God's Spirit to dwell deeply in me. I don't want to be so chaotic and out of control that I don't have time or the desire to want to hear that and want to see that. She says, because of this, my regrets are how many years I bruised people with my fragmented, anxious presence. How many moments of connection I missed, too busy, too tired, too frantic, and strung out on the drug of efficiency. You don't have to damage your body and your soul and the people that you love most in order to get done what you think you have to get done. I think we can all look at our to-do list that we create on a daily basis. At least I know I can. And probably the things, half of the things that I think I have to get done today, I probably don't have to get them done today. I want to get them done today because for me, it gives me a sense of accomplishment and achievement. And I am a box checker. I always have been. And so honestly speaking, if I look at my to-do list, I can probably take off some things that I don't have to do. So the next chapter is called Stuffed. And this chapter also whooped my tail. It's just talking about how we pack our lives with stuff. We are a society where more is better, more is bigger. Faster is better, faster is more, faster is bigger. And we just continue adding. You know, adding to our calendar, adding to our daily lives, adding to our homes. We have Amazon Prime now. Like you can get stuff on the same day, which I loved at Christmas time. However, more can sometimes just be that, more. And so reading through this chapter, I really liked it. She finally just said to herself, no more, only less of everything, less stress, less crying, less noise, less TV, less wine, less online shopping, less one more thing. Whether that one more thing is a trip or a movie or a boat ride or a play date, less cramming 36 or 56 or 106 hours into a day that has only ever held 24. How many times have you said, I know I say it every day, there's just not enough hours in the day? Says who? Because when God created this earth, he was pretty confident that giving me 24 hours in one day was going to be enough for me to accomplish everything that I need to accomplish. And so for me to sit back and say, oh, it's just not enough. You know what? You didn't do it right. You didn't do a good enough job. I needed 6 more hours to be able to cram all of this stuff into this day or week or month or year. And so seeing that, that was huge. I needed to see the part about into a day that has only ever held 24. She says, why is the most important thing how much I did this year? How many trips I took? Fun or for work, or how much the baby did or didn't sleep? I want to tell you all of the things. I want to make a case for why I'm so tired. I want to run you through the list, partially because I want you to feel it, to feel as tired and as glazed and as undone as I felt. And it's true. I feel like when we're so tired, we want to tell somebody about it. We want to tell somebody why we're so tired, why we're so stressed, why we're so chaotic. Oh, my kid, they've got basketball and volleyball and soccer and piano and all of these things. But you're signing up for all of these things. I'm signing up for all of these things. And then I'm complaining about being tired because of the choices that I made and the choices that I made for my children. And after that, she goes on to say, I tell you this because I do not want you to think that I am weak. For me, the more that I do, the stronger I feel. The more that I can accomplish and the more that I can check off, the stronger and the more in control I feel. And so to read that, because I don't want you to think that I'm weak, it just shouts to me. This is so myself. I don't want someone to think that I'm weak, so I'm willing to take on an army of things so that you don't judge or assume something about me that might not be true. I've been so committed to prove, as though anyone cares, that I can handle it all. And I've handled a whole lot of things. But then who wins? I handled it all. I showed them. But who is them? Who cares? Whose voice am I listening to? What am I trying to prove? What would happen? What would be lost if I stopped or if I slowed down to a pace that felt less like a high-speed chase all day, every day? I don't operate in later. I've always been proud of that. But look at where it's gotten me. Stuffed, exhausted, wrung out, and overscheduled to the point where even things that I love to do now feel like obligations. Oh, friends, this is so true. I so many times have just taken on so many things that in the beginning I wanted to do and I felt called to do and I was excited to do, but because I took on every single thing that I was asked to do because I didn't want to tell anybody no, I then found myself resenting everything that I had taken on because it was too much. It was just too much for one person. It was too much to expect from one person. And so now I have found myself, not now, but then when I took everything on, I then found myself in a situation where I was resenting literally everything that I had committed to do. And I was not giving it 100%. Because I got to the point where I did not care 100%. And so I think for me, the struggle is always saying yes to the things that I am truly, honestly feeling like I am being led to do and called to do, and not just doing them for the sake of not appearing weak and being able to mark off a box so that I feel that sense of strength. Then she goes on to say, what I ache for these days is space, silence, stillness, Sabbath. I want to clear away space and noise and things to do and things to manage. I want less of everything, less stuff, less rushing, less proving and pushing, less hustle, less snapping at my kids so that they'll get themselves into the car faster so that we can go and buy more stuff that they're going to throw away. Less consumption, less feeling like my mind is fragmented and my stomach is bloated and my life is out of control. What I gained from this chapter was that I'm stuffed. I want change. I want different. I want to show my kids that this is not the normal. that this is not a life that they have to live, that they have to choose, that they get the choice to make their life how they want their life to be. If they want to be running all the time, then that's their choice. If they want to say yes to a few things and have time to spend with family and friends and fellowship and whatever and rest, then that's their choice too. But at the end of the day, I think that we just think that we have to be doing all of this stuff because somebody's telling us, the media is telling us, society's telling us, we have to say yes, 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 yes. You know, it's funny that she says running laps is the next chapter. And it goes into talking about the responsible party. I'll get to that in a second. But for the bottom line for me, in the previous chapter stuff, it's just realizing I'm stuffed. I'm done. Stick a fork in me. I'm ready. I need to make a change. I need to show my kids that this just constant running, it's not normal. It doesn't have to be normal. So the next chapter is running laps, and it's so hilarious because my friend and I, we have this talk all of the time about being the responsible one. And when somebody realizes that you are the responsible one, you are the one that is literally called on all the live long day. Because it's like, oh, well, I know that Missy's gonna say yes. I know that she is gonna get it done. It's gonna be done right. It's gonna be done fast. It's gonna be done well. It's gonna be done 100%. It's gonna be. And so you are always somebody's call girl. That's just the way that it is because they know that you're not gonna tell them no. And so it was so funny because she says, I spent a lifetime establishing my role as the responsible party. What that means is that I take care of it. And by it, I mean everything. And that's exactly what it is. Everything. People don't hesitate to ask you for anything. You know, I think as moms, we do this to ourselves, at least I do. I take great pride in knowing that my kids are cared for, that they have the things that they need, whether it be clothes or things for school or, you know, stuff for homework, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, all of this kind of stuff, sports, extracurriculars, all that kind of thing. We take pride in saying, you have everything that you need. I've done everything for you. Yay me. You know, it's just like, again, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of knowing that you're taking care of something, you're keeping something alive. And yet, a lot of times, while we take the time to keep something else alive, we're forgetting to feed ourselves. That could be spiritually, mentally, physically. And it's funny because she goes in to talk about what fake resting looks like. And I had to laugh so hard because my husband gets on me all the time about this. You know, we'll sit down to watch a movie as a family and I'll have my computer or my planner with, you know, all of my pins and whatever to like get everybody's schedules figured out while I'm watching the movie. And for me, it's almost a fault that I can do a lot of things at one time. But what I don't realize usually when I'm doing that is that when I'm doing all of these things at one time, nothing is getting done at 100%. Even though in my mind, I tell myself that everything is getting done at 100%. But it's just not. It's impossible. I can fake rest like you would not believe. You know, on a Sunday when my husband and my son are down watching football, I love football. I love watching football. But I can be watching football, working in my planner, doing work on my computer, doing laundry, going up and downstairs, folding laundry, putting laundry away, taking times here and there, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, at the end of the game, like I've probably seen 30 minutes of it. Because I'm fake resting. I'm not stopping and taking the time to fully 100% rest. And then in my mind, I'm irritated at my husband because he's resting. And it's so funny because I think especially for women and especially for moms too, we fake rest so well. You know, my husband doesn't ever really have a hard time resting. The only time that, you know, he has a hard time resting is when I'm like hovering over, like, what are you doing? Like, have you seen this list? Have you seen these little squares that don't have checks in them? Have you seen all this stuff? And then it's like, oh my gosh, I should get up. I should help her. I should whatever, you know, she's driving me insane. Those are the times that my husband cannot rest well, is when I am fake resting. And so that was so hilarious to me because he will make comments like, you literally cannot sit still. What is wrong? Like, we're all sitting here, we're all watching this movie, and like your body doesn't even know what to do. You can't stop. Like, just stop. And so it was so funny for me to see that. And so then she goes in to say, it looks like I'm resting, but I'm not. I'm ticking down an endless list, sometimes written, always mental, getting things back into their right spots, changing the laundry, wiping down the countertops. Some might say that this is being a mother or a homemaker, or this is what women have been doing for generations, tending to the home stuff while men and children go about their leisure. Maybe so, but this woman and mom is exhausted. And it's true. We are exhausted, regardless of what we want to admit. We are exhausted, plain and simple. That's why people walk up to you and say, oh my word, you look so tired. It's because I'm tired. I am plain tired, okay? I'm tired of doing it all and upset with myself for doing it all and not being able to say no. So she goes on and on to talk about the fake resting and, you know, how that has just really caused a lot of the chaos in her life. But then she goes on to say that the to-do list in a way is a drug. And she says, I fall for the initial rush every time. If I push enough, I will feel whole. If I feel proud, I will feel happy. What I feel though is exhausted and resentful, but with well-organized closets. It's so true. It is so true. You know, you push and push and push. And yes, please, I am not against an organized closet. My clothes are, you know, organized according to color. But it's true. At the end of the day, there's more important things than organized closets. There just is. And so being able to find that balance and that peace and that back to center feeling that, yes, I want my closets organized, but I also want more substance in my life. I want to feel more connected to my kids. I want to feel more connected to my husband, to my friends, to my family, all of that. And at the end of the day, that's more important than an organized closet and a to-do list with all of the boxes checked. So then she continues to go into dethroning the idol. And for her, you know, the idol is the to-do list and being the workhorse and the structure and being the responsible party. And you know, being that high capacity person. And, you know, she goes on to say, work has always been a through line, one that I'm very thankful for, one that has taught me so much about the benefits of structure, discipline, skill, communication, and responsibility. But at some point, good, clean work became something else. An impossible standard to meet, a frantic way of living, a practice of ignoring my body and my spirit in order to prove myself as the hardest of hard workers. And it's true. I have worked, I think I got my first babysitting job when I was 12, and I have been working ever since. For me, work runs very thick in my blood, and I have a dad that has worked and worked and worked for his family, for his daughters, to send them through, Christian school, to pay off his home. And he was raised on the farm where you worked hard for what you got and for what you had. And so for me, I grew up in a German bloodline where you work and you work hard. And so for me, I've never known anything else. My grandma was a hard worker. I learned how to organize a drawer from my grandma. You know, you guys have heard me talk about her lots and lots on this channel, and, say that I am who I am a lot because of her. And I take pride in that. Yet when I look at this on paper, it's like a slap in the face almost, because it's like, here I have put so much effort into proving that I am the hardest of hardworking people, that I have kind of lost track of things that were important and meaningful and that would be part of my dash. And, the things that I did to my body in order to maintain a reputation of a high capacity person has not always been good. Like I said in my New Year's video, I don't exercise. I hate exercising, mainly because it takes me away from my to-do list. And that sounds so ridiculous, friends, when I hear it out loud. But when I am in that moment and in that motion, it makes total sense. Why on earth would I spend 45 minutes or an hour exercising and then have to take the time of getting ready and showering and all of that kind of stuff, when I could just get up first thing in the morning, shower, get all of that done, and then have my entire day ahead of me? Why? Like, in my mind at the time, this is not a question. This is just a plain and simple, this is what makes more sense. But by doing that, I'm sacrificing my body. I'm sacrificing my health, my physical health, my mental health. I went through this phase when we lived in Texas because I needed an escape. And so I started running and absolutely loved it. Partly because I could listen to my rap music while I ran. And so, hello. But I loved it because it's like I was running away from the stuff that was just totally bogging me down. And it was a huge stress relief. And mentally, I felt so much better and so much lighter. And I desire that back. However, I'm terrified that if I start running right now, I'm going to collapse or have a stroke or something. So I never really want to exercise here at home without somebody here, because I'm like, oh my gosh, if something were to happen, there's nobody here to call for, because I haven't exercised in so long. But I have to, I need to, and I will. But it's just knowing that I have sacrificed my health because of things that I thought that I had to do and that I thought were important. So, she just goes on to say that when you devote yourself to being known as the most responsible person anyone knows, more and more people call on the more responsible person. And it's true. If word gets out that you are a responsible person and that you are a yes person, your phone is going to ding off the chart. You're going to get text and text and text. You're going to get emails. You're going to get phone calls. Hey, we're really looking for a volunteer. We've all heard it and we've all said yes. And if you have not said yes, please help the rest of us who have a problem saying yes to know how to say that in a way that we don't feel like we are just totally dropping the ball, totally letting somebody down. So she then goes on to say, you know, the next chapter is called You Put Up the Chairs. And it says, I hope that you live a life that you are proud of. If you find that you are not, I hope that you have the strength to start all over again. F. Scott Fitzgerald. I love that quote. I love it. I'm going to go in my kitchen this evening and write it on our chalkboard because it is so true. Just being able to be someone who can just stop and say, wait a second. I need to come back to center. I need to figure this out. I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this in a healthy way. And being able to just have the strength to start over and say, hold on a second. I've got this wrong. I need to regroup. I need to recenter. I need to get it together. And, you know, like I said, the chapter is called You Put Up the Chairs. And she was talking about, and I know that you have all experienced this in some capacity, but she was talking about how she had gotten together with a group of friends who she has known since high school, and even friends who don't know as much about you. She was talking about, you know, getting together with this group of girlfriends, and, you know, all of their kids were out at the pool, and they were playing and they were having fun, and, you know, the moms were sitting along the side talking and life and whatever. And somebody made the comment, why do we not do this more often? Oh no, we should get together more. But it's just so busy. Everybody's so busy. Kids, you know, school, right? Work is insane. Piano and hockey, in-laws and baby showers and moving houses and book club, and who has the time? And then in the middle of the conversation, somebody makes the comment, but what are you gonna do? How many times have we been in that conversation? How many times have we said those very exact things? I have so much going on and on and on and on that when do we find the time to hang out? When do we find the time to fellowship? When do we find the time to, but what are you gonna do? And so she then goes in to talk about how she had met with a pastor of a big church and a pastor of a smaller church. And the pastor of the smaller church was commending the pastor of the big church for building this huge church. And, you know, the pastor of the big church was saying, you know, it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and like we don't know what to do because it just keeps getting bigger, and you know, it's just totally unbelievable and unmanageable and all this kind of stuff. And the pastor of the smaller church says, yes, but you built this. Like, you should be proud of this. This is what you contributed to this. You kept putting out chairs. Well, duh. You keep putting out chairs and somebody's going to sit in the chair. You keep adding things to your schedule and you're going to continue to have stuff to do. You keep saying yes to everybody who's asking you to volunteer and to help and to bake and to donate and whatever. And they're going to keep calling you because you continue to put out the chairs. And I just thought that that was such a powerful, story, and I can totally resonate with that because I keep putting out chairs. I keep telling people yes. I keep, marking things on my list to do and to accomplish and to achieve and whatever. And while goals and achievements and accomplishments are great, if there's too many chairs in your room and there's nowhere to walk, then you probably have a problem. And I probably have a problem. Because you got to be able to walk. You got to be able to function. You got to be able to breathe. And so I absolutely loved her story about that. And at the end she says, so that old question, but what are you going to do? I'm going to take down some chairs. So the next chapter was the word that changed everything, and that word was no. And again, I said it a little bit, before this. I can, but it's so hard for me to say no. And it's like I say no and then I start twitching. because I've let somebody down, or I've made somebody unhappy, or you know, I am a people pleaser, I am a doer, I am a problem solver. I don't want to say no because I want to be able to fix it. I want to be able to help. And so, you know, she was talking about, where was it? Oh, this. She says, and if you're like me, you've said yes too many times and found that all that hopeful, exciting, wide open intention that actually left you scraped raw and empty. The word that can change everything is no. I know, I don't like it either. Yes is fun and sparkly and printed on totes. No. What if you saw someone wearing a sweatshirt that just said no? I do not want to be sitting next to that bundle of fun. And it was so hilarious because it's true. Like, I mean, I guess more so now, just in the last little bit, you see the sweatshirt that says like, nope, or not today. We can all say that and laugh, but when it comes down to it, like, do you actually have the guts and the strength to say nope, not today, no thank you, no ma'am, you know, whatever. I try so hard to say that, and it's just that, so hard to say that. But she, you know, continued to go on and just talk about how we say yes, 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 and before we know it, we are just absolutely drinking from a garden hose, and we're drowning because of our own choices and our own desire to not tell somebody no, and to not disappoint someone, or to not leave the ball in somebody else's court. She also goes on to say, and some people just aren't down with this way of living at all. They'd prefer you to continue over-functioning for their own purposes. Or they're so wrapped up in their own hyper-functioning life that it's a personal affront to their value system when you say something insane like, I'm sorry, I just can't. She says, bless them, but don't spend too much time with them. Draw close to the people who honor your no, who cheer you on for telling you the truth, who value your growth more than they value their own needs getting met or their own pathologies celebrated. And it's true, friends. I have said it before. Who you surround yourself with, you want to be that person. I was just having this talk last night with a friend of mine about when other people see wealth or strength or smarts or whatever, it's so quick to judge and say, oh, but they, oh, but they. Instead of wanting to surround yourself with people like that who are going to make you want to be all of those things to some capacity, who are going to make you want to be smarter, who are going to make you want to be richer in the whole sense of that word. Richer doesn't mean money. You know, it does, but it doesn't. Like, what are you rich with? Who are going to make you want to be stronger, more spiritual, more connected to your spouse if you're friends with a couple who just seems to have this amazing connection. Surround your people with those people who are going to drive you and make you want to be better. Don't worry yourself with people who are only friends with you for the yes, who are only friends with you so that you can help them accomplish what they need to accomplish, who are only friends with you so that you can help them mark off their to-do list. So I loved that she just basically reiterated what we already know, but what just sounds so much better when you read it out loud or read it on paper. I thought it was cool. She said, you know, she has this group of friends that she talks to on a daily basis, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day. And the questions that they ask each other throughout the day is, what can you lay down? And what can you do to make this simpler? What are you going through? And how can you tweak that to make it simpler. What things can you lay down? What things aren't totally 100%, I have to do this today kind of things. And so again, just surrounding yourself with people who are going to build you. And she says, you know, over time, you rebuild a life that's the right size and the right dimension and the right weight for you. And that's what matters, friends. Your life and my life are going to look very different. Your stuffed is going to look very different from my stuffed. Your organized is going to look very different from my organized. That's why when I do these videos, I say to you, I don't want you to do every single thing that I do on these videos, because what works for me is not 100% going to work for you. And just knowing that I'm putting this video out and hoping that you can just pick a few things that you can put into your lifestyle and into your current systems and, you know, your current journey, that's what it's about. It's not trying to totally replicate what somebody's doing. It's just gaining little bits and pieces from each person that you have in your life to be able to create this amazingly awesome life for yourself and the people that you are living it with. And that's what matters. It's not about having or doing exactly what somebody else is doing. It's about creating this thing that fits you. She just goes on to talk about, you know, how it's okay to disappoint people, and that, you know, how time helps her make these decisions, and how she's a lot less likely to say yes when she has time to think about it. And, you know, I read a book a while back, and I'm sure a lot of you have read it. It's called Your Perfect Yes. And the author, Lisa Turkhurst, she goes on to talk about how don't ever say yes to someone in person. If somebody comes to you in person, like they have a plan, this is their plan, they're coming to you because they want to make eye contact with you, and they know that if you have to say no to them, you know, face to face, that it's going to be a lot more challenging. And so she says, do not ever say yes in person. Say, you know what, I'm so honored that you asked me to do this, and that you think that I am so capable of doing this. Let me go home, let me talk to my family about it, let me pray about it, let me think about it, let me look at my schedule, all of these different things, and then I will gladly get back to you and let you know whether or not I can or cannot do this for you. And she said what this allows you to do is to just stop and breathe, pull yourself together, realize I don't have to answer right now, I don't have to say yes right now, yes, 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 but then you're able to put it in the place that it either can or cannot go. And if it cannot go, then you need to send an email or a text or make a phone call and say, you know what, I'm sorry. If I say yes to this, I'm having to say no to all of these other things that right now need my time and need my energy. And so I loved that Shauna also went in to kind of talk about this also. Like, having the time to make a decision is so much better because it allows you to stop and to breathe and to think. And so, you know, she just continues to go on. She says, I remind myself that this will not make me feel loved. So if that's why I'm saying yes, that's not a good reason. The love that I want will not be found here. And what I will feel in its place is resentment and anger. And it just goes back to what I was saying about, you know, times that I have taken on all of these things and then ended up resenting all of those things. But I also loved what she said. I loved so many things. But as you regularly tell the truth about what you can and cannot do, who you are and who you are not, you'll be surprised at how some people will cheer you on, and frankly, how much less you'll care when other people don't. And it's true. When I have said no willingly and after thought and prayer and whatever, you just feel like, oh, it wasn't that hard. And you realize in the end that, you know, whoever you said no to, probably 9 times out of 10, everybody survived. There were no hurt feelings, you know, long-term hurt feelings. Of course, people are going to be disappointed because now they have to find somebody else to say yes. But it doesn't have to be you this time. And so, you know, I, again, needed to hear that. The last part of this part 1 was just kind of what the lake teaches. And she talks about this place that they have on Lake Michigan, and that's kind of her place of solitude. And, you know, we all have a place that we go for rest and solitude and relaxation, whether or not that's your house, whether or not that is a vacation spot, whether or not that is just going out to Target. We all have our place of just, I can take a second, I can breathe, and it's all gonna be okay. I liked what she said. Some of being an adult is about protecting and preserving what we discover to be the best parts of ourselves. And here's a hint. They're almost always the parts that we've struggled against for years. They make us weird or different, unusual, but not in a good way. There are childish sides, our innate selves, not the most productive or competitive or logical, just true. Just us, just very simple, who we are, regardless of how much quantitative value they add. Friends, I say it all the time. I am my own worst enemy. The things that drive me are the things that also hinder my true growth. And being adult enough to be able to say, look, yes, I am an organized person. I am crazy organized. But that can also be at a fault and act as a drug for me and totally take up more time than sometimes necessary. And so just realizing that the things that drive us, we also have to be able to control as well and use in a healthy way. Let me just find the one part that I wanted to end with because I absolutely loved it. When you decide finally to stop running on the fuel of anxiety, desire to prove, fear, shame, deep inadequacy, when you decide to walk away from that fuel for a while, there's nothing but confusion and silence. You're on the side of the road, empty tank, no idea what will propel you forward. It's disorienting, freeing, terrifying. For a while, you just sit contentedly, and contentment is the most foreign concept that you know. You learn it, shocking as it is, day by day, hour by hour. You sit in your own skin, being just your own plain self. And it's okay, because it's changing everything. Friends, I am so glad that you came along with me on this journey and on this ride. And it's a journey and a ride that I am thrilled to have passengers by my side. It takes a village to raise an adult. I've said it a lot on this channel as well. And to know that I have people beside me who also want to be their best self, that's all that matters. We can do it. We're going to do it. And we're going to be the best that we can be and the best that we're meant to be. Friends, until next week, I encourage you to create a life that you absolutely love living and will never need a vacation from. I will see you next week for part 2. Bye-bye.